I'm beating every N64 game, and I mean all of them. The twist is, the next game I play is randomly selected, so I have no clue what's coming next. This is the journey to beating every N64 game. Hey, welcome to another episode. If you do enjoy this video, consider giving it a like, as it does help the channel a lot. And if you like this series, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one. Last week we played with rubber duckies, and this week we are being not Captain Falcon. Game number 25, AeroGauge. Released in 1998, this game was developed by Locomotive Co. and published by ASCII Entertainment. Never really heard of this one, but as soon as I turned it on, I recognized it was a racing game. Nothing too crazy here. The main single player mode is Grand Prix, so we'll be completing that to beat this game. There's a decent selection of vehicles to choose from. You got the Interceptor, the Hornet, the Avenger, the Shredder, and the Black Lightning. They've all got different stats in speed, acceleration, steering, stability, shield, and aero limit, whatever that is. Decided to roll with the Black Lightning for my first race, cause how do you pass up on a name like that, you know? So the game has you do a qualifier before the actual race to decide your starting position. This was my first taste of how the game plays, and yeah, this sure looks a lot like F-Zero. The cars don't really drive at all, they're pretty much flying. Actually, at some points in the race you're literally flying. There's also sometimes these weird tunnel things that you can drive on the ceiling in, and they're very disorienting. Nothing too crazy for this first track outside of that tunnel. The game, honestly, it controls pretty well, like it's easy to navigate all the elevation changes and turns. So I qualified in 4th place, and it was now time for the real race. Immediately when the race started, all the other cars got a huge burst of speed and left me in the dust. Seems like this game has a way to get a boosted start like many of the racing games do, but I had no idea how it worked. The main thing that concerned me right away was that it felt impossible to catch up to the other racers. Despite driving really well, it took nearly a full lap to catch up to just one other person. I absolutely needed to be able to do that fast start. Without it, there was no way I was getting first. I finished this first attempt in 5th place, which obviously is not good enough. So we go look to the game's manual to try to learn some things. Thankfully, at the very end of it, there's a section on tips and tricks that explain how to do the boost. So apparently you have to hold A and B at the start of the race, then after the announcer says set, you release B. This should give you a boost. Sounds easy enough, so let's try it out. Yeah, that didn't work. Oh, well, that didn't go so well. There was one other trick in that section that may be useful too, and that's turbo drifting. Basically, you can drift in this game using Z. So to do this, you have to drift using Z, then when you come out of the drift, let go of all inputs, then immediately start mashing the A button. No idea why it's like this, but at least when I tried it out for the first time, it worked. Okay, that was turbo. These are actually pretty useful, and you can use them a ton throughout each race. When you do one though, it raises your temperature. If you get that maxed out, you can't do a turbo drift until it cools back down. So you kind of want to strategically use them periodically throughout the race, but not too frequently so that you overheat. Even with this turbo drift, it was still just not enough. I really needed to figure out how to get that boost at the start. The manual had to be almost right, it's just something was off. I tried various things and I realized finally what was wrong. The manual says to release after set, but what you really want to do is release as they say go. Oh! Okay, you have to release when he says go. Finally, with both the fast start and the turbo drift, I was ready to take on the Grand Prix for real. So we already know this first track, nothing different here this time, other than the fact that I can actually boost now. Even with this, it ended up being really close. Come on, pass him! Pass him! Yeah! The second track is this big outdoor course taking place entirely over water. And of course, tons of those spinning tunnels that are still very disorienting. There's also like a cool underwater tunnel with glass walls, and I don't know. There's not too much to say about these courses. They all end up playing about the same. With good boosts, I easily knocked out first on this one as well. The third track is Chinatown, and it easily has the best music from the game. Something about that flute and the fast pace of it, I don't know, I just really like this song. The game had pretty good music overall, honestly. This track's quite different from the previous two in that it takes place in the middle of a city. The middle of this one is just an absolute mess. You can see on the minimap how there's just a knot tied in the middle of the track. Basically, you can choose which direction you want to take there, and the turns are incredibly sharp. Real rough to get through compared to anything we've previously seen. There's also an area where you can either fly near the ground or fly over all the buildings, just so different compared to the previous two tracks. I thought I had this game figured out, but well, this track showed me that it wasn't quite the case. I got 7th place, and now my score was only 1 point above 2nd place for the Grand Prix standings. The 4th track went more back to the first two, with it being pretty linear. However, this one had a few weird tricks up its sleeve too. Up! What kind of troll is this? It wasn't too different outside of that though. It looks like we're in some super futuristic place, kinda like Mute City or something if the F-Zero similarities to this game weren't already enough. It also only has 2 laps instead of 3 like the others. Things went pretty well in this one overall, and I was in 1st place coming into the final stretch of the final lap. A janky interaction coming out of the tunnel had us set back quite a bit, and I was overtaken. Whoa, dude. Oh, I thought that was the maybe there were only 2 laps. 2nd place was still pretty good though, right? Well, I thought it was. Turns out this was the last race. Yeah, there's only 4 races in the Grand Prix. Unfortunately for me, I was 2 points behind the leader after that final race, so I can't say I've beaten the game. Back to the start to do all 4 races all over again. Having to replay the races made me realize how pointless the qualifying laps are. You do 2 laps in the qualifier, and then there's only 3 in the race itself. Then everyone starts really close to each other. I don't know, it makes things take a lot longer than they could have. So anyway, back we go. Got 1st place on the 1st race again, 1st on the 2nd race again. The main one I struggled with was the 3rd race, but this time it went much better. 3rd place, which is definitely something I was happy with. Then I just had to do decent on the final race, and I did. Got 1st place, easily clinching the 1st overall in the Grand Prix. The game shows your vehicle driving around and all your times on the tracks you raced in, then it plays the credits. Game beaten. So there you have it, my journey to beating AeroGauge. This game was definitely trying to build off the hype F-Zero had, and they did alright at it. The controls were decent, although the way they had you do the boost is just absolutely bizarre. 4 tracks are just not enough for me to feel satisfied with the game, honestly. I did learn there's 2 additional tracks you can play, but you have to get 1st in the Grand Prix on the hardest difficulty to unlock them, which I wasn't really interested in doing. I gave it a 3 out of 10 for enjoyability and a 3 out of 10 for difficulty because, well, it just wasn't all that hard. But yeah, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you did enjoy the video, consider giving it a like, as it does help the channel a lot. And if you like this series, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one. But yeah, here is a sneak peek at what is coming next. 283 on the list, maybe. One day Yoshi's story will get drawn. 3, 2, 1, go! 130, right in the middle. The next Mario Party game. Okay. I'm cool with that.